Have you ever wondered how this beautiful universe came into being? This creation story is what you need to look back in time. In the beginning, there was nothing. There was no time, no light, no darkness, nothing existed but God. Then God decided to bring forth His power. On the first day, God created the heavens and earth. But the earth had no form. So God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And that is how night and day were born. On the second day, God created all the oceans, lakes, and rivers. On the third day, God commanded dry land to appear on earth. Soon, God created all the beautiful trees and plants you see today. Then came the fourth day. God filled the sky with the sun, the moon, and countless stars. But there was more to come. On the fifth day, God breathed His life into the waters and created the sea creatures. He also created all the beautiful birds on the fifth day. Next, God called forth living beings, animals of all shapes and sizes, to fill the earth on the sixth day. Reptiles, insects, and animals now called earth their home. God also created the first humans, Adam and Eve, on the sixth day of creation. Now that the earth was ready and buzzing with life, God declared the seventh day as the day of rest. This is a perfect Old Testament Bible stories for children. After God had created the heaven and earth and filled it with life of all kind, He decided to create humans in His image. So, God took some clay and molded it into the shape of a man. Then God breathed into the clay man and gave it life. Soon, the man opened his eyes and saw the wonder that was heaven. God named the first man Adam. God loved Adam very much and created a beautiful garden for him. The Garden of Eden became Adam's home. But God soon saw that Adam was lonely and needed company. So He took a rib from Adam and created a beautiful woman. He called her Eve. Now Adam and Eve were very happy in their beautiful home. They had all that they could ever need. All the beauty of God's creation was theirs. But God forbid them from eating the fruit from a tree in the middle of the garden. That was the tree of knowledge. But Satan did not like this happy family. So he took on the form of a snake. He called Eve and tempted her to eat the fruit of knowledge. Eve could not resist the temptation, and along with Adam took a bite of the forbidden fruit. Soon, everything changed. Adam and Eve were no longer the happy and carefree souls. God was very sad that His children had disobeyed Him. But He could not stop the consequences. So He told them, "Now you'll have to suffer. You'll have to earn your living and live in pain. Nothing will come easy for you. And one day you'll die." Waiting for Christmas. Did you know that Christmas is the birthday of Jesus Christ? Do you know the wonderful story of Jesus' birth? When Mary gave birth to baby Jesus, it was night time. Some shepherds, who were tending to their sheep nearby, were startled when an angel appeared before them. But the angel had brought good news. He told the shepherds that their Savior had finally come, and it was time to see Him. Soon, other angels appeared and showed the way to find baby Jesus. So, the shepherds made their way to Bethlehem, following the wonderful, bright star in the sky. Not just the shepherds, the three wise kings too made their way to see baby Jesus, their Savior. And so all the world converged at a modest manger to see the Savior of the world. It was a time to rejoice and celebrate. Do you know of the miracles Jesus performed? Want to hear a cool miracle story? Once, Jesus Christ was traveling through the Sea of Galilee with his disciples. But soon a violent storm engulfed them. Water filled the boat, and it began to sink. Jesus was asleep, so his disciples woke him up. So Jesus woke up, stood facing the sea, and commanded it to be calm. And just like that, the storm withered away. What happens when you throw a rock in the water? It sinks, right? What will happen if you try to walk on water? You'll drown. But not Jesus. A long time ago, Jesus asked his disciples to wait for him on the boat while he went up to a mountain to pray. As the disciples waited for the boat for Jesus, a strong storm blew the boat away to the middle of the sea. The disciples tried hard to row the boat back to the shore, but to no avail. The disciples were worried about Jesus and wondered what they could do to get their master to the boat. Suddenly, they saw a man walk into the water. The disciples panicked, thinking that a man was about to drown. But it was Jesus, and he did not drown. Instead, he walked over the water and reached the boat safely. One of Jesus' disciples, Peter, asked if he too could walk on water. Jesus said yes, as long as he kept Jesus as his focus. Soon, Peter too was walking on water. But the moment he took his eye off Jesus and concentrated on the waves, he began to sink. Jesus grabbed Peter and saved him. Finally, the disciples realized that Jesus was the Son of God. We have all heard about the miracles Jesus did. Want to hear about another one of his great miracles? There was a time when the disciples of Jesus still had a hard time understanding his miracles. So, once when they were in the city of Bethsaida, the disciples brought a blind man to Jesus. They requested Jesus to heal the man so he could see God's wonderful creation. So, Jesus led the man out of the city. He then spat on his eyes and touched them. And there it was, another miracle. A blind man who could now see. Here's another short, but beautiful story about the divinity of Jesus Christ. Once Jesus was passing through a city called Samaria with his disciples. Samaria wasn't a popular destination for Jews, but Jesus had a mission there. Once in the city, Jesus asked his disciples to search for food. In the meantime, Jesus set off and stopped by a well. There was a woman near the well, busy filling water. Jesus asked her, "Do you want some everlasting water?" The woman did not understand what Jesus meant, so Jesus explained the water from the well quenches the body's thirst. But soon, you'll be thirsty again and return for more water. But if you accept me as your Lord, you'll find salvation, the everlasting water, which will quench your soul's thirst. Moses is one of the most important characters in the Bible. There are many wonderful short Bible stories for kids about Moses. Here is one for you. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian man beating a Hebrew man. The sight of such injustice broke young Moses' heart. As he tried to stop the fight, the Egyptian man was killed. Left with no other option, Moses had to flee Egypt to save his life. Moses wandered around as a shepherd, trying to understand the purpose of his life. One day, as he sat near Mount Horeb, tending to his sheep, he saw a miraculous sight. The Lord himself appeared to Moses in the middle of a burning bush. As Moses looked on with wonder, God spoke out, "Remove your sandals, as you stand on sacred ground." Then he told Moses that the people of Egypt needed him, so he was to go back to save the Hebrew slaves. Moses was confused and said, "I am but a common man. How can I convince the Pharaoh to let slaves go? And in any case, the sons of Israel, the Hebrews in Egypt, won't follow me." God knew that Moses still did not trust his strength, so he said, "Throw your staff to the ground." Moses did as the Lord said, and lo behold, the staff turned into a serpent. And as Moses picked up the serpent, it again became a staff. Moses finally understood that he was God's chosen one. With complete faith and trust in the Lord, Moses left for Egypt to save the sons of Israel. No matter how many times you hear the story of Noah, it never grows old. Here is the classic story, once again. Once there lived a man named Noah. He was a God-loving person. And God too loved Noah. But unfortunately, this was also the time when a man was led astray by Satan and committed many a sin. God loved his children, and their actions made him very sad. God needed to bring back the balance, so he told Noah, "Go, Noah, gather all the wood you can and build a huge ark. Build many rooms in the ark and put a coat of tar on it." Once the ark was ready, God said to Noah, "Take your family to the ark, as I don't want you to die with the corrupt. Also, take a pair of each living being so that life can begin again." Now when all was ready according to God's command, it began to rain. It rained without a break for 40 days. The great flood washed away all the sin from the earth. All that was left was Noah and his ark to restart a pure life on the earth.
The Bible is full of stories about brave and strong women. Have you heard about the beautiful Queen Esther? A long time ago, in the Persian Empire, the brave King Ahasuerus was looking for a wife. The king ruled over many lands, including the land of the Hebrew people. One day he saw and fell in love with a Hebrew girl named Esther. But Esther had a secret. Nobody knew that she was Hebrew. Many people in the Persian Empire harbored distrust and hatred towards the Hebrews. That is why Esther's brother, Mordecai, had told her not tell anybody about her real identity. So, King Ahasuerus and Esther got married and lived a very happy life. But their happiness was short-lived. One day, the king's assistant, Haman, made a plan to kill all the Hebrew people. Fortunately, Mordecai discovered the plan on time and sent word to Esther to save her people. It was a difficult time for the queen. She knew that if she told the king about her Hebrew heritage, she could lose her life. But it was a risk she was willing to take. So, Queen Esther went to the king and proposed 2 grand feasts. This made the king very happy. But the night before the feast, the king discovered that long ago, Mordecai had saved his life. Next day, the king rewarded Mordecai. During the feast, Esther, the brave queen, very humbly asked King Ahasuerus to save her and her people. But instead of being angry, the king did just that. He put the evil Haman to death and saved the Hebrew people. All thanks to the brave Queen Esther. Thanks for watching.